Support for Arkansas Week provided by the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, the Arkansas Times, and KUAR FM 89.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Arkansas Week. I'm Donna Terrell. Women play a vital role in today's workforce, and that does not come without its challenges. The Arkansas Women's Commission, reinstated by Governor Asa Hutchinson, conducted a study analyzing the economic status of women in the workforce that was released during a press conference earlier this week. Take a look.
In February of this year, I signed the executive order that created and formed the Arkansas Commission on the Status of Women. In my view, this is historic. As I will recite, it is essential and really important as we look at the future of our state. And I don't think my administration would be complete after 8 years of service without this report that is so critical to everything that we want to accomplish in Arkansas.
And here to discuss its findings and recommendations is my guest, Dr. Cherisse Jones-Branch, a member of the commission and dean of the Graduate College at ASU in Jonesboro. Thank you so much, first of all, for taking time out of a very busy schedule at a conference in San Francisco. So I definitely appreciate your being here with us.
No problem at all. I'm happy to do it. Happy to be here.
Well, let's get started. How did this study, first of all, how did it come about?
Well, it came about as a recommendation from the Women's Foundation of Arkansas to have this commission, because the last time we had the commission was about 50 years ago. So this was long overdue in order to get a group of women leaders and one male leader, actually, the Chancellor of Arkansas State University, Todd Shields, to talk about the concerns that women have in the state of Arkansas and to have women themselves discuss their concerns and to share them with us.
And how did you get women to do that? How were you able to collaborate with women around the state to get the answers you needed?
Well, we had surveys. We surveyed women around the state, and we also moved to different parts of the state. We held our meetings in different parts of the state. So, for example, of course, we met in Little Rock, but we also met down in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. We also met in Jonesboro, Arkansas, and in doing that, we invited women from those communities to come to our meetings and to share with us their experiences and their concerns.
Okay, so let's get right into some of what came out of this study, the recommendations. Number one, meaningfully engage the business community to address child care challenges. I think yes. Most of us understand what that means, but could you explain more?
Absolutely. What that basically means is women in the workforce are either having trouble accessing appropriate child care or having trouble being able to afford appropriate child care. And that was a story we heard over and over again as the commission traveled around the state. So
when we talk about child care, are we talking about all different socioeconomic standings with women?
Absolutely. Women are in the workforce, regardless of your socioeconomic background, your salary, they're all facing these problems and they need help.
Mental health resources. Women need more mental health resources, right?
Yes, absolutely. Particularly in this historical moment where we are still in a pandemic. And also the fact that these discussions are not being had as fully as they need to. And the the pandemic certainly exacerbated all of that. So that was one of the things that came out of the discussions we had with women from around the state, is increased access to these kind of resources, particularly women who live in rural parts of our state.
Increase equity in the labor force and in entrepreneurship. Let's just talk about equity in the workplace. Obviously, this is something that's been discussed for a really long time in terms of pay, in terms of the ability to move up in the ranks. We're still talking about this as we enter 2023. How do we get to a point where there's equality among men and women in the workplace?
I think the biggest thing is that we keep pushing. We make sure that our employers know that this is an ongoing issue. It has not yet been resolved, and we keep having discussions about it. And that women and their supporters and their allies keep saying that this was an issue 50 years ago. It's still an issue in 2022, and the work is not done. The discussions are not done. And until the issue is resolved and everything is fair and equitable across the board, we've still got work to do.
And more female entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. We're talking about the fact that women don't have the same access to resources, or they're not as knowledgeable about the kinds of resources they need to access. So we need to be having those conversations so that they know that, number one, they're not out there alone, and that number two, there is help for women who are entrepreneurs.
Why is it women have a harder time getting this information compared to men?
I think they don't know. I also think there's the gendered expectation that entrepreneurs are going to be men. And so I think with the increased visibility of women who are entrepreneurs, and that's not a small number in the state of Arkansas, I think with that increased visibility, I think they will be able to access better resources because people will realize that we do have women in these areas. They are operating productive and fruitful businesses. Now we just need to make sure that they have the support to continue to do that, but then the women who are coming behind them, who are entrepreneurs, know about those resources and are able to access them as well.
Were you able to assess if Arkansas is behind other states when it comes to some of these issues?
We are a bit behind, but I think the advantage that we have is that we are having open and honest discussions about those things. So I'm fully confident that we're going to be moving forward. We're in a very strong position to make significant changes in Arkansas. And a lot of that comes as a result of the discussions we've had with women around the state. With the commission.
And of course, part of the recommendation, increase mentorship for women, finding mentors for women so that they can excel. It's probably a little difficult when there are fewer women who are in some of these positions.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that can be an issue, but mentorship does not necessarily have to mean that you're being mentored by another woman. That's a great idea. It is probably ideal, but it's just a recognition that there are people who possess a certain set of skills and people who don't, and putting those people together so that they can help women access, again, the resources they need to be successful.
The fifth item on here in terms of recommendations, incentivize Arkansans to enter or remain in the early childhood education profession. How does that help?
Well, I think it helps because we need people in these positions. We need people in these schools who are excited about early childhood education and who want to work with our next generation of young people to help them be as productive as possible, to help them realize all the things that are possible in their lives. And we need people in schools who have big ideas and energy to help make that happen, or at the very least to continue to help make that happen.
You know, I mentioned at the beginning of this segment that you are at ASU, and I know there's a women's business leadership program there. The governor infusing, I believe, $200,000 to accelerate that program. Tell us about the program and how this money will help.
Well, the program is the Women's Leadership Center at Arkansas State University, and that was actually started by another commissioner, Dr. Kathy Lloyd. And so it's really due to her leadership that this center is going to be expanded and continue to do the wonderful things that it has been doing in mentoring young women at Arkansas State University. But part of that expansion also includes the Delta Women's Leadership Academy, which will be launched hopefully in the next few months or so, which will help women leaders from the Delta region of the state. So moving a little bit beyond the students, but maintaining that connection to the students, but also helping women who are entrepreneurs, women who are in leadership positions across a range of vocation with mentorship, access to resources, and just the different ways that women themselves lead, really focusing on and drilling down on that. And so, you know, we're very grateful to Governor Hutchinson for for helping us with that, because initially it just started off as some scribbles on a piece of paper, and it all evolved really, really quickly. So this is a venture that we're very excited about. We're excited about the expansion of this idea and the ways that it'll help women in the state.
So women in the state, this is at ASU. So if you're not close to ASU physically, how do you become involved in this program?
Well, when we get the program up and rolling, there is going to be an application process, and it'll be headquartered, of course, at Arkansas State University, but the plan right now is to move around different parts of the state. So we really want to grow the network statewide.
Okay, that's awesome. Equity in STEM education, you know, and I think it's fair to say that a lot of women might feel intimidated by STEM education. How do we encourage more women to not be afraid to jump in and learn more about computers and computer programming and all that STEM has to offer?
Well, I think a lot of it starts by supporting and encouraging them when they're really young, if they're interested in the STEM field. But it's also being able to interact with women who are working in those professions, and it's being a part of programs that cater specifically to women, young girls, young people in STEM. It's often difficult to imagine that you can be a thing if you don't see someone like you who is doing that thing. So it's very important, again, to have that mentorship. And a lot of this does go back to mentorship and leadership and working with people who are already in those areas so that you can see what's possible.
Because I definitely don't want to imply that women aren't working in those fields and aren't talented enough, but I do think many of us sometimes are afraid to venture out. But Dr. Jones-Branch, I want to thank you so much for joining me here, and I hope the rest of your conference goes well. And good luck with all of these recommendations and making sure that Arkansans reap the benefit of your hard work in establishing this.
Absolutely. We are all ready and willing to roll up our sleeves to do the work to continue to make Arkansas great.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you. And
Thank you.
The future of transportation in Arkansas, we're going to talk about that next. What does the future hold when it comes to transportation? It's Governor Hutchinson's vision for Arkansas and the Heartland to be a global leader in advanced mobility by 2030. Joining us to talk about this plan are Governor Asa Hutchinson and Cyrus Sigari, chairman of the Arkansas Council on Future Mobility and co-founder and managing partner of Up Partners. I want to thank both of you for being with me for this conversation that we're about to have. Governor Hutchinson, why is Arkansas leading this initiative?
Well, we're leading the initiative because Arkansas has always led in transportation. You think about our great logistics companies, our retailers, transportation is critical to our state, and we want to continue to innovate and be in the lead. So the Council on Future Mobility is designed to give us new ideas, recommendations as to what we can do as a state to stay innovative, to invest in new technologies so we don't lose that leading edge. So it's very exciting, and let me assure you, these recommendations coming out of this council led by Cyrus, they're very bold. They will help us to stay ahead, and they're really based upon some of the models that we see in other states that have been successful. So exciting report, and glad we're completing that project.
Well, Cyrus, let me ask you. Let's talk specifics now. Let's talk about what's in the report.
Sure thing. Well, we've got a couple of pretty bold ideas, as the governor mentioned. First is the creation of an Arkansas Innovation Fund to be able to invest in startup companies here in Arkansas to support this really burgeoning ecosystem. It may be a surprise to some folks to realize that there's 6,000 transportation logistics companies already in Arkansas. The largest export out of the state is aerospace and defense. So for us to continue to fuel this fire, we got to put the capital into the marketplace to allow entrepreneurs and visionaries to continue to build these new transformative companies of the future. So that's the first thing. The second thing is take advantage of the education system that's already here and expand upon it. So one of the major recommendations coming out of the report is creating an Institute of Advanced Mobility at the University Arkansas, to really allow the ecosystem from a workforce development and academia to really sort of focus on this one specific area and to become a world-recognized leader from an academic perspective. Third is around policy. What are the specific policy changes that we can make that will allow that companies and entrepreneurs and students to really be able to go freely, unencumbered, to be able to take advantage of these incredible opportunities. And one specific thing I'll make as a recommendation that came out of the report is the creation of a space authority for the state of Arkansas. And beyond that, a feasibility study to look at creating a spaceport here in Arkansas. And so these are just a couple of examples of some of the exciting new opportunities the state has that came out of the work of the council. Okay, so I heard about this spaceport. I need you to expand on that a little bit, because I don't think we all have a thorough knowledge of what exactly that is and what it means for the state of Arkansas. Yeah, you bet. So just to give some understanding of the space industry today, it's about a $100 billion industry currently, and it's expected to be about a $1 trillion market by the year 2040. And now the idea of a spaceport in Arkansas might sound crazy, but the surrounding states actually have spaceports. Oklahoma's got a spaceport, Texas has a spaceport, New Mexico has a spaceport, Florida's got a spaceport. And this all started by first creating a space authority, look at what the opportunities are, find areas within a state where you can safely launch things up to space without it hurting people if something comes down, and start to create an ecosystem that supports that. And so it's absolutely within the realm of possibility that if we put the right resources and the right policy in place and the right investments, that we can have a burgeoning space ecosystem here in Arkansas. Sounds very, very enticing. Governor Hutchinson, I have to ask you, I mean, here it is, you're at the end of your governorship in the state of Arkansas, 8 years at the helm. Why is this so important to you right now? Because we're talking about your vision through 2030. In terms of governor, obviously you'll be long gone.
That's true. First of all, this is important because it fits in so wonderfully with our national leadership position on computer science education and how we're educating the next generation in STEM and technologies. And then secondly, it is about the future, and you're right, I'm going to be leaving at the beginning of next year, and so this hopefully will set the stage for future action. I know the next administration has been briefed on this, the legislators we've talked to. We hope that they will take these ideas and run with them, but that to me is what we build on each other, and we have success, and then we build on more success to keep those jobs coming here, and technology is the way of the jobs of the future. And Governor Hutchinson, I know you launched an exploratory committee to look at the possibility of running for president in 2024. So, of course, I'm going to ask you, what is the status of that? I would think by this time you have some pretty good answers in terms of what your intentions are. So will you run for president in 2024? Well, thanks, Donna. And no decision has been made. There's technical, legal reasons for that. But I've traveled to New Hampshire and Iowa this last year. The response is good, but I'll make a final decision sometime early next year. And, you know, it's probably accelerated because we have former President Trump that jumped into the race as the first announced candidate. But Arkansans have been very supportive, and they'll be the first ones to know. Well, I tell you what, we see you all over the national news, so I guess in terms of getting out there, that's a good thing for you. Where can our viewers learn more about the subject that we're talking about, the future of mobility in the state of Arkansas? If you go to the website, arfuturemobility.org, you can download the report, you can read the report online. You'll get to see all the recommendations, what other states are doing. Okay. All right. Well, thank you both for being with me, and good luck with all of this. We, of course, will be watching. Thank you. Thank you, Donna. Thank you. And stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. If you have not heard by now, the town of Earle just recently elected its youngest mayor. 18-year-old mayor-elect Jaylen Smith joins me now from his hometown. And I guess the first thing I should say is congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, so at this moment, At this very moment, you are the youngest mayor, youngest African-American mayor in the country. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel amazing. You know, it's just so amazing, heartfelt to me, being the first youngest African-American mayor.
Was it a tough campaign?
It was, I had some bumpy roads down the line with my campaign. It wasn't easy. We had some ups and downs, but overall, we continued to push through.
So you have a twin brother who I understand encouraged you a lot, and if I remember his exact words that I heard, he said, you know, just because everyone in the town of 2000 knows you doesn't mean they're going to vote for you. And that's true, because the vote was 218 to 139. Did that surprise you?
Yes, ma'am. My brother, Jaden, he always here to encourage me. When I'm at home sitting down, Jaden's like, Jaylen, don't some work have to be done? And I was like, no, I've done all I can do. He said, no, you need to get back out there. You need to continue to work, knock on doors, talk with people. And I did just that, you know, because it made me realize while I'm sitting down, I feel like I'm not doing enough. And Jaden was that extra burden. He kept pushing me. Even though I used to get mad, but he kept pushing.
Well, that's good. It's always good to have a twin brother, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So what kind of responses did you get from your now constituents in terms of your age? Were any of them concerned that you're 18?
Yes, I had some older people telling me, well, he's too young. He can't do anything. You know, as I tell people today, I use negativity as motivation to me to prove them wrong.
So what's the very first thing you plan to tackle once you take the mayorship in January?
Public safety. That is mostly important with our police department and fire department. Our police department, we don't have a 24/7 police department. I want to improve that by making sure all the citizens in the city of Earle is safe at all times, day, night, midnight, around the clock. We want to make sure our citizens is safe. And also with our fire department, we have fires that takes, you know, our volunteers like 30 to 40 minutes to get to a fire. And we want to improve that with having fire volunteers living within the city limits of Earle, Arkansas.
So how do you plan to get that accomplished when you know you're going to be working with city council members, you're going to have a staff? How are you going to make them realize that, hey, I'm the person that heads up the city?
Well, working with not only the city council, but also working with the people, because at the end of the day, we all have to work together to push to make our city better. You know, and it won't take me, but working with my team, the city council, and the people coming together for the better of Earle and move it forward.
You have some experience. You know, you may be 18 years old, but you don't take this position without experience. Number one, you were the high school senior class president, and you were also the president of student government. You just graduated in May, but you head up those areas. How does that help you in terms of taking this position for the city?
Well, in those organizations, especially student government, because this is where everything started. With student government, it was hard. It was challenging. We went through obstacles, but we kept pushing. You know, when someone told us no, and when someone told me no, I went forward. I kept pushing that limit, because I knew that our students needed more opportunities, you know, more things here within the school district. And we got it, you know, with people telling me no, I kept going. I kept pushing. I had some people to kind of, you know, want to throw me in ISS or expel me, but I kept pushing because I knew that our students wanted more, and I did as well. And so I pushed, and I had a passion, I had a drive to making sure our school was better.
Speaking of which,
and I want to do the same for the city.
Speaking of which, from what I understand, you made a promise to the young people there in the town of Earle that if they voted for you, then you would look out for them. So what specifically do you want to do for the young people in Earle?
I want to get our young people more involved, not only within city government, but have them like create jobs for them so they can have like something to do, like with job programs already calling to want to come in and help. So I want to help them get a job and to help them make, look at life more different.
So I know you have at least 4 years ahead of you as the mayor. Do you have aspirations, political aspirations beyond the city of Earle?
Yes, ma'am. I hope one day to be the president of the United States of America.
Well, you know what? You're actually off to a pretty good start, especially, being that you're 18.
Yes, ma'am.
So has this always been a goal of yours, politics?
It haven't. Throughout the years, in elementary school, I've always wanted to be in law enforcement. I wanted to be an Arkansas State Trooper. But as time came with high school, I had a group of people come to me and ask me to join student government. But I told them no, because I'm like, what is that? And so I went home and I thought about it, and I looked myself in the mirror and I said, Jaylen, do you want to do this? And I said, yes. And after I got done my research, I went back and I joined. But I didn't win, but I was blessed to be a higher representative for 2 years than what I was. I was in the 7th grade. I was an 8th grade representative, and I was blessed to have that opportunity to move forward.
Absolutely amazing. Well, I do know that you are a student at ASU in general studies, and a lot of that work you'll be able to do online as you govern the city. Well, Jaylen Smith, Mayor-elect Jaylen Smith, we absolutely wish you the best. Good luck to you, and let us know how things are going, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. And that's going to do it for this Arkansas Week. I'm so glad you were able to join us. I'm Donna Terrell. We'll see you next time.
Support for Arkansas Week provided by the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, the Arkansas Times, and KUAR FM 89.